I'm thrilled to be joined by the bass player for multi-platinum, 4-time JUNO Award-winning band, the Sheepdogs, Ryan Gullen. How's it going, man?
Good, man. How are you doing? How are things in Wallaceburg?
Fantastic. Spring is just like knocking at the door, right? Yeah, it's a great day. It is definitely an exciting time for you guys. Kind of a new chapter for the Sheepdogs, for your band. You just released a new full-length album, Keep Out of the Storm, released on February 27th. And this was on your self-owned label, Right On Records. You've got, as we mentioned, a Canadian tour coming to Chatham, Kent. So before we talk about the album, Ryan, let's talk about the record label, Right On Records. So what's the story and the inspiration behind that?
The story is basically that, we, for a very long time, have always been in the business of kind of like not relying necessarily always on others to present us with things. I mean, from the early days of the band, before we had managers and agents and publicists and things like that, we did all that stuff ourselves. We booked our own tours, we put out our own records, we managed ourselves, we, did all those things. As we became more successful, we obviously acquired all those various parts of a music career and things like that, but we're still very much involved in that. And I think that to us, doing things how we want to do them as best we can and being mindful of how we want things to be done has always sort of allowed us the ability to navigate what is the crazy music industry and being a musician for a lifetime or career or whatever. So in this situation, we presented with an opportunity to buy our catalog back from a label and own it ourselves. And we made a decision that we, rather than sort of continuing to work with an entity, we wanted to kind of like take the money that we earn from the existing music we have out there and reinvest it in ourselves rather than, paying bills and whatnot for a label. So we wanted to kind of create our own situation that we could kind of have our music come out in and kind of do things by our own terms. Now, that's not to say it's all of us by ourselves. We have some really great people that help us out with it, but we are very much in control of how we do things and how we release things and how we market things and all that kind of stuff. And for us, that's really important. Like, autonomy is really important to us, and the ability to be, to continue to be a band and have longevity, we feel very much is tied to, being in the driver's seat of our career. So that's why we did that.
Right on. Yeah, having that independence, that creative freedom, I guess, right?
Totally. Well, I think like all bets are off on sort of like maybe a little bit more difficult in like 1993 or something like that, where in order to be successful, you had to sound like whatever was on the radio at that moment and whatever, and in order to like to sort of be allowed into the fold. But in our situation, in present day, I mean, it's yet every week, every month, something new is sort of popping off, or there's way more avenues to access people and get them to know about your music than there was before. And so it gives us a little bit more freedom to do that, and we really want to be in the driver's seat to be able to make those choices for ourselves, for sure.
Is there thoughts of having other artists on the label? Is that something that's a possibility, I guess?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's funny, actually. We did a sort of pop-up show the other day in Toronto, sort of to celebrate our record. We had invited some fans to come out, and one guy was asking if he could be on our label. And I was laughing because, it's not something we really thought too much about. I mean, right now, as it stands, we're really just sort of figuring out how it works, and I think we want to figure out how that works with us now. And then, for sure, I mean, I think that in a scenario in which we found something that was really cool that we wanted to put out or amplify, we would love to have the ability, or we have the ability to take what we've learned over the years and apply that to helping someone young and new and up and coming and things like that. So yeah, 100%. Yet to be seen how we would do that, and certainly not don't have a stack of demo tapes on our desk right now, but that's because we're sort of just making the main focus this. But by all means, I think if there is an opportunity that we could down the line, help to amplify somebody through the stuff that we've done, that would be amazing. So yes, 100%.
Yeah, that'll be cool to see how that unfolds. But let's get back to the music. So Keep Out of the Storm.
Sure.
I read a quote from your bandmate, Ewan Currie. So he said that the title is in the spirit of all of us trying to weather the storms of our lives, finding shelter, love, hope, and comfort. The record is about that hope and the belief that rock and roll can still be a sanctuary. So what are your thoughts on that, Ryan? And what would you add or take away, maybe?
I mean, I totally agree. I mean, we're very much aligned in this. I think Ewan is sort of speaking from a bunch of different places. I mean, we've talked about this together as well. It's the thing for us is 19-year-olds starting a band the thing that sort of brought us together and that we loved was we loved rock and roll music, and also that like music was a sanctuary in the sense that whether it was playing music, you got to kind of like tune out the outside world, or performing music, you kind of, or going to concerts, you got to like step into a space, forget who you were at the door for a second, and just be in the moment. And I think it's becoming increasingly hard in life to sort of not be bothered by all the things that are going on, whether it's like in the macro sense of the world and everything that's happening, and kind of seeing that on social media, seeing that in the news, whatever, you know, being inundated with what's all going on in the world, but also like in a sort of personal sense, it's very easy to sort of like get caught up in what's going on in your life and trying to figure it out. And music and rock and roll music can be an escape from that. And we really do believe that. And for us, in a weird way, you know, if we're on stage playing a show, like, you can't do anything else. You literally, all you can do in that moment, you can't reply to text messages. You can't, like, you know, get on the phone. Like, you got to just be in the moment. And it's kind of a beautiful thing that we get to have that. And simultaneously, I feel like going to a show is the type of thing where it's one of the few things that exist now where if you really want to, you can be out of touch and you can just leave who you are at the door and just be whoever you want in that moment. And I think there's something that's really amazing about that. And the fact that then those two things are interconnected, that us playing a show and the purpose of doing the show, we're all kind of doing that together and having that shared experience, which I think is kind of a beautiful thing. So, you know, for us, it really does come from originally a place of we've always found solace in music, just personally, but also there's something cool that we can also potentially create something that could allow an escape for other people to just take a pause on what's going on in their life. And I think that's an important part of life too.
I agree 100%. That sanctuary comment is so on point. And even for us, from our perspective as journalists and as people, as fans of music, but, you know, we get a kind of a different perspective. Like, we get to have conversations with yourself and other artists and musicians. We get that different perspective, but I agree with having that sanctuary. You get to kind of just hone in on that exact situation and get to, you know, get that different perspective of the arts.
It's not lost on us either that there's like so many other things that people could be doing or can spend their time doing. I mean, there's obviously, you know, back in the day, like, whatever, it used to be like you could either listen to a record or go to whatever single movie was playing at the one movie theater or whatever, right? It's like or watch a couple channels that were on TV, cut to now where it's like people are just inundated with so many different things. So it's not lost on us that, like, when people choose us to be what they're using as their activity or their escape or whatever, you know, we don't take that for granted. We really do appreciate that. And so we always really try to be mindful of that and put that thought into how we do things too.
Absolutely. So this is your first record since your longtime drummer, Sam, left the band, and the album itself, it features kind of an A-list mix of drummers. So maybe tell me about who's on the kit on this album.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is obviously, first and foremost, a very tough situation. Sam is a founding member of our band, a longtime friend. Me, him, and Ewan were friends for many years prior to being in a band, and then spent like 21 years in a band together. You know, some of the biggest moments of my life have been side by side with that guy. Some of the best things I've ever done musically are with that guy. And so it was a very tough situation when he decided to step away from the band, but also something that we spent a lot of time working together on and figuring out. So it wasn't like a surprise. We talked about it and worked it out and whatever. So when it came time to record the record, it was so like, okay, we've never made music without Sam, so how do we do that? And so the way we decided we wanted to tackle it is we didn't want to do like auditions or like have a bunch, you know, try to like do a call out. We wanted to be like, let's surround ourselves with people we really respect and we really like, and we know we like their playing, and let's just have them all come in and be part of this thing. And in a way, it'll kind of like, you can try playing with these different people, but also it will create a bit of a different dynamic for the record. So the drummers that played on the record are Trevor Falls, who is currently touring with us now. He's originally from BC, but he's a Toronto guy drummer. And he's played on, he actually played a little bit on Ewan's solo record. So he had some experience with him, but none of us had ever played with him. Dani Nash, who's a fantastic female drummer from Toronto as well, who has a lot of things. She's her own solo side of things. She plays with a lot of different people with Boy Golden with July Talk. I think she plays with Sarah Harmer and a bunch of different people. Has her own solo project. She's an amazing drummer and someone who we've really respected for a lot of years. Steve Kiely is a drummer. He used to play in the band Monster Truck, and then now has his own band called the Golden Feather, which is a fantastic sort of jammy, Grateful Dead-esque band. And he's one of our best buds and someone we've known for many, many years. So that was really fun to have him play. And then Adam Hindle, who actually, when Sam had cancer and had to bow out of a few tours while he did treatment, Adam Hindle was one of the drummers that came in, longtime friend of ours. He has, plays in Dwayne Gretzky. But he's like a guy he's a session guy in Toronto, a guy who plays with a bunch of different people. And then Jordan Murphy was someone who we didn't actually personally know, but lives in Halifax, and we have a ton of mutual friends. And so he came in. And so all of those people, we were basically either we knew, but we're still needing to get acquainted musically, or in the case of Jordan, we didn't know, and we also needed to get acquainted musically. So it was a really interesting thing. Each person came in basically for one day, and we did their songs that they played on with them in that day. And it was sort of show up, figure out the song, kind of get it to where it was really good, hit record. And we just recorded it in that moment, captured that moment as it was, all of us playing together in the room. And so that was the sort of process that we went about to do it. And I think it created a really interesting dynamic, sort of in a way where it's I think there are, from a bass player's perspective, playing with a new drummer is a whole different sort of thing. The best way I could describe it is that I really feel that the bass is the connection between the rhythm of the drums and the notes of the guitars, because it's a rhythmic instrument that also has notes. And so you really are connecting those two things. So trying to get locked in and feel sort of in sync with a drummer, and then also trying to combine that with being in sync with the people you play with, is definitely a little challenging, especially with a new drummer, but it also was really fun. It made that I didn't maybe necessarily always go to old habits, or maybe, the way I was describing it to someone is it's dancing where, there's dance steps that you're going to do, but part of learning to dance with a new dance partner is also figuring out their sort of the way they do things and kind of getting in tune with that. Otherwise, you're just going to your feet are going to bump into each other or whatever. So it was a lot of that and figuring that out. But art is often best created under strenuous circumstances. I think that some of the best art is usually created when people are faced with adversity in some capacity, whether it's the inspiration of the song or I think sometimes forces people to get out of habits. And in this situation, I think it allowed us a little bit get out of habits and kind of approach things differently too.
Yeah, that must have been cool. Especially, I love your comment on, the bass. And for you, you've been playing bass for forever. To have some interesting and new kind of challenges presented, it really probably made you really hone in and focus on your playing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it really kept me on my toes. It was, you go to bed early every single night, so you're nice and fresh, because it was going to be, and honestly, each one of these people are the most pro drummers that I know in my life. So it's they were very adaptable and very open to suggestion and conversation. But it was, man, oh man, it was definitely a bit of a learning curve for sure each day, where it was kind of a little not panic, but a little bit of okay, here we go. We're going to record a song and I'm going to play with a person that I've never played with before. Let's do this. So just very different when you're used, we're very familial band and very much used to being our core unit. So it's always a bit of a thing. And, we've used different guitar players and things over the years, but the core has always been, since literally day one when we picked up our instruments in 2004, was me, you, and Sam. So it was very strange to have it be just you and I and then the other guys. So it was good though.
Yeah, great things can happen when you get out of your comfort zone a little bit, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think so, for sure.
So there's already been a few singles out off the record. Now the whole record is out. Everybody can listen to it or stream it. And there's a lot that are doing really well on streaming, that sort of thing, when you look at the numbers or the stats or whatever. But what are some of those songs, Ryan, that you're most looking forward to playing live?
We just recently tried playing some of them live. We did a few events last week along with the release and did our first kind of attempt. I think that they're all pretty fun. I do is a lot of heavy lifting. There's a lot of guitar harmonies, a lot of singing. Basically, the whole band sings the entire song. It's the only stopping moment of no, not everybody in the band singing is when the guitar solo is happening. So and then that's like all of us playing various harmonizing notes to kind of build out the thing. So that was a really fun one to play, but definitely very daunting from much easier to play in the studio when we were doing like certain overdubs and things like that versus trying to do it all live. And that's really fun. Bad for Your Health has been a really fun one to play live. It's just like a straight out rocker, but it really seemingly like really connects and gets people going. I think probably like a bit of a wild card one that I've been enjoying playing is Take a Look at Me Riding. I'm kind of like drawn. That was a fun one. It's like a little bit different for us, a little bit of a different lane maybe than throughout our show. So that was really fun. And she just plays the trombone in it and stuff. And so, that one I'm really looking forward to as well.
Yeah, and that's got to be cool too, because like, you have the album. Sometimes you might not know exactly which ones really connect with the audience, I guess, until you start playing them and start playing them over and over and see, what the reactions are, I guess, right?
Yeah, no, totally.
You have some upcoming shows. Headlining tour kicks off Friday the 13th of March at the Chatham Capitol Theatre. So it's right in our backyard, as we mentioned. And you guys really continue to focus on markets that often get skipped, right, Ryan? So what's the motivation behind that?
Okay, so this will be the fourth tour that we have started in Chatham. So we have now started 4 tours in Chatham historically, going back to 2012, which is a very funny thing, but for whatever reason, it always works out this way, and I kind of like that as a fun fact. I remember saying that like the second time it happened. We are now up to 4 tours that have all started in Chatham. Which is kind of fun. But we grew up in Saskatoon. Saskatoon is not a small like town, but it's like a small city that's located in the middle of nowhere. And the closest cities are Calgary, which is like 6 hours, and Winnipeg, which is 8 hours. So and growing up, we were very much in a position where if we wanted to go see whatever big show was coming through town, you more often than not had to travel to one of those cities, either in Calgary or Winnipeg, to go see shows. And that sucked. And then you missed out on stuff, especially when you were like younger. But even as like a young person, it was like going to a concert meant getting tickets, but also getting a hotel and the gas and all that fun stuff. And so when early on in the band, we made a very clear decision that we wanted to make sure that we were not just playing major cities, and we wanted to make sure our tours went deep, because we definitely understand that this country is not made up of people that are just located in major cities. and also, like I was joking to say, we're like in the business of finding rock and roll fans, so we'll go to wherever rock and roll fans are, and I'll tell you, there's rock and roll fans a lot more places than just the 6 major cities across Canada. So we made a really early effort to do this, including the last time we played Chatham. We did what we called the Back Road Boogie Tour, where we only played smaller markets across Canada. The biggest market we played on that tour was Thunder Bay, which is obviously not and it's really important to us. It's important to us to be able to like allow people the ability to go. I mean, Chatham is this beautiful, amazing old theater, and it just doesn't get utilized enough because people's it's too bad that not more people come and play Chatham, because Chatham is an amazing place. We've always had amazing shows there. We always look forward to it, hence why we're now 4th time starting a tour there. But, for us, it's just about allowing people to enjoy stuff in their backyard. There's a different vibe when you know that you're just going to, walk home from a show afterwards rather than, like, drive 2.5 hours and have to, like, get a, $400 a night hotel or whatever involving going to Toronto or whatever. And so for us, it's all about bringing that to people's backyard and being able to like go and grow a fan base, not just in the major, cities, but the fact that there's music fans all over the place. So it's been a huge thing for us, and constant people make mention of it to us too, because they see our tour and they're like, I didn't even know that place existed, or I didn't even know that had a place to play in. And for me, it's been all about like, let's go find more of those places. Let's go do more of these shows. So Chatham was an early version of that actually really influenced that, because, admittedly, before we played there, I'd never heard of Chatham before. And then we had an amazing show there and went out afterwards and went to the bar next door and hung out with people. And everyone was just like, it's so great you guys, not enough bands play here and stuff. And that was an early sort of experience that we had that was like, okay, there's something that's really cool about going and playing some of these other places, not just, hitting a few spots across Canada. So that is why we do it, and that is why we love it, for sure.
Well, we're definitely looking forward to coming to see your show in Chatham and driving 20 minutes down the road and going home and sleeping in our own bed that night. So that's going to be great. But you guys got an exciting year ahead as well. Like I say, all across Ontario and Canada. You're also playing the Ottawa Blues Festival, same bill as the Guess Who. And then starting in November, you have a European tour that's kicking off. So it's going to be a busy year ahead for the Sheepdogs.
Yeah, it's cool, right? I mean, that's a weird one where it's like, we've met those guys before, but those two haven't played together as a Guess Who in an incredibly long time. So it's going to be very cool to see them. And yeah, we're looking forward to the year ahead. We have a lot of things happening, and just literally kicking it off, having the album just come out this week, and it just feels like the season premiere of a fresh season of the Sheepdogs. So looking forward to what the season has in store for sure of these episodes that are coming up.
Right on. Well, we're definitely looking forward to seeing you on the 13th of March in Chatham, Ryan, and we're pumped to have new Sheepdogs music to listen to. We'll stay tuned to thesheepdogs.com and all your socials for all the updates. So Ryan, thanks so much for taking the time with us, man.
Hey, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate you taking the time and putting some spotlight on the show. I look forward to it. So thanks so much. Always good to chat.